is up? This is SL127, and I've been seeing this video, and I've been seeing such videos like this trend on YouTube. I've also seen other YouTubers like Sadie Aldous do this, where she shares the 21 things that she learned at the age of 21. I mean, I'm gonna be turning 21 in 2 months, but I thought I'd share with you the 20 things that I learned back in 20 years. I thought I'd share with you the 20 things that I learned in 20 years. Almost 21 years and just over a month from now, but those are the 20 things that I'd like to share with you that I learned. Starting off at number 20, don't change yourself to impress other people. You see, people are quick to judge you no matter who you are. And if you change yourself just to impress another person, then they're never gonna like you. I mean, believe me, I've dealt with that. I've changed myself to impress other people, and I didn't feel good in that way that I changed myself. But that's the thing, is that whenever a person tells you that they don't like this about you, and you have to change yourself, and they like it but not you, you gotta think about if you really like this person or not. Because if that's the case, then that person is not good for you. Number 19. Being autistic doesn't make you less human. Yes, I am on the autism spectrum, and in middle school I had to hide the fact that I was on the autism spectrum in order to avoid bullying. At the time, I didn't really tell anybody that I was autistic, because I didn't want to be judged, because being on the autism spectrum was often frowned upon, especially as a teenager and even as adults, because the society expects people to grow out of autism when really you can't grow out of autism. Of course now I've learned to be proud of myself for being autistic and to not care about what other people think. Because at the end of the day, the people that care about you, they're not going to care if you're on the spectrum or not, or if you have a disability or not. Number 18, being LGBTQ+ doesn't make you less human. Much like for being autistic, I also had to hide the fact that I was LGBTQ+. Like back in middle school, I was a closeted bisexual, and I didn't tell anybody at the time because of homophobia. Because the thing is that we live in a homophobic society, and it expects people to be straight, and that being straight is the normal. Like I didn't really come out. I didn't really come out to anyone until 2019. But it was in 2020 that I first came out to my mother and my sister as bisexual. In 2021 was when I started coming out more, and now I'm proud of myself for who I am as a bisexual man. Because as I said before, the people that care about who you are won't care. The people who care about who you are, such as the people that care about what sexuality you are, what disability you are, whatever, those people are not for you. But the people that see you as a human being won't care about who you are, like whether it's like your sexuality or disability, for example. They're gonna like you for you. And nowadays, I'm proud of myself as an LGBTQ+ person. Number 17, you can be male and have more female friends. Or in other words, it doesn't matter what gender your friends are. Ever since my childhood, I never really hung around guys. I mostly hung around girls at the time. And I mostly had female friends. But at the time, I would also be bullied for that too, and and being told that it was gay to have mostly female friends. Because what's wrong with having opposite gender friends? Because I've had mostly female friends since childhood, mainly since like middle school. I've mostly had female friends, and I was proud of it. But at times I would be told that it was gay to have mostly female friends. Which again, that's viewing women as sex objects, and that's not really viewing them as humans, but it's viewing them as just property, which stems from misogynistic standards that are upheld by patriarchy. 16. You are who you surround yourself with. You may not think that this is true, and you may think that you're a good person because that's just who you are and you're your own person. But the people that you surround yourself with will influence you the most. Such as like if you surround yourself around bad people, for example, that may inspire you to be a bad person. But if you surround yourself with good people, like I always watch who I'm friends with, and I always make sure that there are no red flags. I always make sure that they're good people, and I surround myself with people that have good intentions, and I make sure that they don't have any bad intentions or anything. Because your behavior is pretty much the average of the 5 people that you hang out with on a daily basis. Of the 5 people that you interact with on a daily basis. 15. Everybody is weird. This goes back to number 18 and 19 because everybody is unique. People think that being on the autism spectrum or being LGBTQ+, for example, is something weird, for example. And I remember hearing things like that being on the autism spectrum or being LGBTQ+ is weird. When even if it was weird, at the end of the day, we're all weird. We're all unique in our own way. So in other words, there is no normal. I can't tell you how many people I've heard. I can't tell you how many people I've heard say, "Oh, I don't want to be this. I just want to be normal." There's no normal. There's no normal. Nobody is normal. 14. Your grades don't define your self-worth. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to academic success, they always think that having high grades, like having all B's and A's, for example, means that they're smarter. Your grades don't define your intelligence. Like you could be very smart and still have all F's in all your classes. If you try to do the material, but they have you do it in a certain way, and you struggle with that, and you have all F's in those classes. Conversely, you could be not so smart and have all A+ in your classes. That's if you, in that case, that could happen if you cheat your way to get all A's in all your classes. And a lot of people fear failure for that reason. Which brings me to number 13, failure is inevitable. This is true, failure is inevitable. So you're gonna have a setback in life, and there's gonna be an episode that knocks you off your feet. Well, even if you fail, what matters is not that you failed, but what matters is that you get back up. What matters is that because when you get knocked down, you get back up. You don't lose by getting knocked down. You lose if you don't get back up. Number 12, only you know who you are. Or in other words, people are gonna have different perceptions of you. They're gonna have different assumptions. For example, if you're a social person, one person is gonna think that you're extroverted, but another person is gonna think that you're introverted. That's one example of something. Ultimately, only you know who you are. It's ultimately only you know who you are. Only you know. Because the things that people know about you is only a fraction of who you actually are. 11. Money doesn't buy happiness. Now, even though having money may feel better at first, like being a millionaire, for example, being rich like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, for example, that doesn't mean that you're gonna be happy. You can be a multi-billionaire and still have a miserable life. It doesn't matter if you're rich or not. In the same way, you could be not rich and still have a good life. Because you may have a lot of money, but you're not going to be happy if you're miserable with all that money. And 10, fame cannot make you happy. Fame cannot make you happy. Before I started my YouTube channel back in 2016, I thought about being famous and being like having millions of views, millions of followers and all that stuff. And I've thought about that. That is, until I realized that I could just make content for fun and for my enjoyment and not just to get views and not just to get like all those subscribers. It doesn't matter if you have like it doesn't matter if you have like say 2,000 subscribers, 4,000 subscribers, or whatever it is. Because there are many other ways that you can make yourself happy that don't involve having millions of views. Because a lot of people have the belief that they have to go viral and that they have to rise to fame and that they have to be popular in order to be valued. When really, popularity doesn't really determine your own self-worth, and I learned that. Number 9, move in silence. And the reason I say move in silence, that's because you don't really have to tell people how it's going, but rather once you show them the results, then you can show them. Don't let the results roar. Don't show them every step as to what's going on in your goal, but rather what you want to do is show them the end result. They're not gonna care. They're not gonna care how you got there. They're not gonna care all the setbacks and failures that you've endured. What they're gonna care about is that you've reached your goal. Number 8, perfectionism doesn't exist. This goes back to number 15, where I said everybody is weird. But additionally, a lot of people try to be perfect, and they try to do everything 100% perfectly. They think that it has to go so well, and that it has to be so perfect, and that it has to be really good. And if it's not really good, they're viewed as, they think that they're less human. In fact, it's our imperfections that make us human. It's not just about perfection. So at the end of the day, nothing in life will be perfect. Number 7, take breaks before you feel burnt out. Because we all have an internal battery, and you don't want to take a rest when you're burnt out. You want to take a rest before that point. It's just like for a battery. You don't want to charge the battery when it gets to 10%, but rather you want to charge it when it gets to like 50%, for example. Because we all have an internal battery, and you don't want to be taking a break. You don't want to charge when you're at 10%. You want You want to stay between 30 and 80%. Number 6, everyone is going through something. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's true. You never know what a person is going through behind the scenes. Someone can be going through something and you don't know about it. Or if you do know what a person is going through, you only know about 1% of what they're going through, but the other 99%, they hide it. They internalize it and they go through it in silence. So in that sense, you don't really know what a person has been through. Whether they've been through it in the past, or they're actively going through it right now. You never really know what's going on. And it could be anything. 5, life is hard. If you grow up thinking that life is simple and it's full of perfections and it's perfect all the time and there's going to be no obstacles at all, if you think that all the time, you're basically setting yourself up for failure because not everything because nothing in life is perfect and life is hard. And when you take the time to think that life is hard, it'll make you feel better. It'll make you feel like life is easier. Once you come to realize that life is hard. Number 4, trust your gut. This goes without saying that if you feel something in your gut, that if your gut says something and you feel, if you trust your gut, because if you feel like your gut is telling you something and you think it's true, it probably is true. There's a good chance that your gut is right. So you should really be trusting your instincts. 3, maintaining friendships as an adult is important. It could be hard, it seems easy to maintain friendships as a child. Because as children, you don't really have that many responsibilities. But as an adult, you do. And maintaining friendships becomes important. Especially when you have like daily life in your hands, like work and stuff. Whether you're at work or whether you're in college, for example. It becomes important. It becomes more important than ever to maintain connections and to maintain friendships, especially throughout your adult life. It does become a lot harder, so you'll have to work even harder to keep it. 2, you could be a man and be emotional. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've heard that, I've heard things like, oh, you're a man, you can't cry. When really, the way I see it, manliness is not about being unemotional, it's not about being a stoic beast and having to be hyper-masculine and being unemotional, but really, manliness is about being a human. It's about being a human. It's not about just being strong all the time and having to be this hyper-masculine beast. Because at the end of the day, we're all dynamic human beings, and we all have many emotions besides anger. Being able to show emotions like pain, grief, sadness, fear, and even joy. We're all diverse and we're all dynamic. And finally, number 1, and my most important one, everyone moves at a different pace. A lot of people think that they have to, that as soon as they graduate from high school, they have to go to college right away. A lot of people do this, but really, there's some people that take gap years. I never took a gap year, but some people do. And that's fine. Not everybody is going to move at the same pace as you. Not everybody's going to move at the same pace as you are, and you're not going to move at the same pace as everyone does. Like for college, for example, you may finish later, you may finish earlier, you may finish later than another person, and that's fine. You're not behind in life. You're just at the pace where you have to be. It's just like how an iPhone battery can charge to 80% in 45 minutes, but an iPad battery at that same amount of time can only charge to 30%. So for that reason, it's like, in that same way, one person at the age of 22 could be graduating from college, but another person at that same age could just be starting their freshman year. But now that I've said all the 20 things that I've learned throughout the past 20 years, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that those 20 things were meaningful. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for watching this, and keep liking, commenting, and subscribing.